Hello everyone. So in this episode today, I want to share with you how it was going to Australia. So finishing my course with the dogs, quitting my job and deciding to go on a whole new adventure, exploring something totally different and moving to Australia for a year. In the beginning, that was the idea. And why this all happened, I talked about in the last video, right? But what happened in the end was like a completely different thing than what I planned in the beginning. So it was a completely different situation. What happened was so different from what I was expecting and planning, which is actually really funny to see how the universe works and how life works sometimes when we plan something and then something completely different happens. But it was actually much more aligned with what I truly wanted, because I was just studying about dogs and I was so excited and passionate about it. I wish that I could actually work with dogs in Australia, but I was not sure how that was going to happen. So the plan in the beginning was to go on those 1 year with the work and holiday visa, where you're traveling for a few months and working for a few months to save up money and then travel again. So you could work in 3 different places during that year, and in the meanwhile you would travel and do whatever you wanted in the middle. So it was quite funny because I was with my boyfriend at the time. We went together to Australia. So as I always say, Australia really shifted my life upside down, right? I went to the other side of the globe, so it really was an upside down change, but for the better. What happened was the program was not exactly what we wanted, or it was, but because we were together, they were trying to pay less for the both of us because we were together, instead of paying the normal wages to each one of us being together, So it was not really what we wanted, so we just went on our own. And I actually started doing something that I've seen, I don't know if it was 2 years before that or something. I discovered at that time, it was quite new for me, maybe 2-3 years before that, I discovered the pet sitting, and I loved the idea. I was actually really excited about it. So in Australia, when we went on our own, we had to find home, we had to find, the program was arranging everything for us, and now we had to do it for ourselves. So I actually started researching for pet sitting, and I put myself in some websites in Australia for pet sitting, and we started doing it. So that's when the whole journey started, actually. I did 2 weeks with the first, it was just a weekend, and we ended up staying 2 weeks with the dog. I actually helped with some training with the dog because she was a farm dog, and she was adopted when she was 9. And she was so used to be around the cattle and all that she was really hard to handle on the walks. So that was really interesting as well. She was so sweet. And I just helped reducing the pulls on the walk. That was the most important thing, because she was a sweetheart, really. The thing was with the pulling, she would pull like crazy. I have no idea the strength that she had. And then I was looking for work, so this was right in the beginning. So, in the beginning of second month, because in the first month we ended up going to Tasmania, doing some strawberry picking, completely different that we ever done before, but it was actually a completely different and great experience to have. It's those stories that stay with you no matter what. And it didn't work that well as we thought, but it was great. And then I started looking for the jobs with the dogs, and I also found a restaurant where I could do some work part-time. So I was working, it was a really nice restaurant, and then I was working with the dogs I found in a doggy daycare. It was like the first doggy daycare in Australia. It was 14 years old at that time, so now 20 something. And yeah, it was great actually. I was feeling so good with the whole thing, you know, like I was feeling more free. I was feeling like I was experiencing what I wanted to experience anyway, working with dogs, and it was amazing. And now Sammy wants to play on the background. Well, I did a pause to play with Sammy a little bit. So to tell you, after that first pet sitting, I just started doing some more. Actually, we wanted to stay a bit more stable for a while in the beginning. So because I started working in a restaurant, so we wanted a house close to the restaurant, more or less. So yeah, we found a room for like 3-4 months. We stayed in there. And I was working in the restaurant and in the doggy daycare. So I was working with the dogs, but not pet sitting during those 3-4 months. Then, because we were like the rents are really expensive, we decided, okay, let's do pet sitting again. So we decided to buy a car. So we bought like a cheap car, and we were just like moving our things around because it was the easiest way with the car, like to move all the things around. So yeah, we just started doing pet sitting, like 3 weeks here, 2 weeks there. And then there was this one for 6 weeks that it was like the one that changed my whole life completely. There was this couple, this lady with this dog, and I had no idea, but well, in the beginning I didn't know. She worked with energy, like energetic work and the quantum fields, all of that, quantum physics, and I was really skeptic before, so I was not really into that stuff at that time, just the law of attraction with The Secret. At the time, it was the most that I went in with. So the rest I was completely oblivious about, really. And it was really fun. Like, they went on holidays and we stayed there for 6 weeks with the dog. And the house was amazing. They were amazing. The dog was incredible. So yeah, we stayed there, and during that time I was still working in the restaurant and in the doggy daycare, but with the car made things easier. And so a lot changed during those weeks there. I started like eating healthier as well. I was already trying my best to eat healthy before going to Australia, but not as much. Like, I felt it changed a lot there. But the main thing that happened there was so funny, because I felt I contributed to the dog and to the family, of course, and they contributed to me, like, somehow indirectly. It was not thought of somehow. Like, the dog had some skin issues, like really, really, really big ones. And I believe, the change of scenery somehow, as being there and not the family, and at the same time as being in their house in different energies as well, like, it transformed me, and I know somehow my presence also helped her transform the skin issues. At that time I didn't see it like that, because I was not really into this energy work or energy existence like this. It was amazing. Like, basically a lot of things happen, and kinesiology also happened. The manager at the restaurant I was working at, she was studying kinesiology. I always have to say it slowly because it's a big word. It's not so easy for me to say sometimes. And yeah, so she started doing that in me, like testing it out. So she would have like the number of hours she needed to finish the training and all that. And I'm curious in those things. I just let her test it on me, like practice on me. And things that showed up with that were amazing. Like, the emotions my body was suppressing, and I never looked into that at all. It was the first time I had access to something like that. And then the dog was also like recovering beautifully from her skin issues. So yeah, these lasted weeks, and then I think it was like in the 5th week there, I think, yeah, that it ended up happening, me breaking up the relationship, we separating, and because of the emotions, like all that work that I started doing with her in the restaurant with the kinesiology, and things happening as well in my life where people from the past coming to talk to me, and like everything was just clicking into place, and I just realized something that I already knew, but yeah, we were not that happy anymore. We were just like so used to be with each other, and we started dating like and being a couple like so young. So yeah, but there were things that were not working since the beginning, like communication, like, and of course because both of us had things to work on, we were really young and we were not really in this path of self-development, self-growth, so the issues were always the same kind of thing. Even if you tried to solve them, they were never really solved, and things were never really changing. So yeah, we were good, like we were friends, great friends. We really liked each other and cared for each other, but I just realized, yeah, there's something else here, and this is something that needs to be done. So yeah, I started. Took a few weeks, and maybe like it was a long relationship. So you may think it's crazy in just like a few weeks and just doing this and that. Of course, I'm just being general here, not going too much into detail, but it was so clear. Like it was so clear. And then it started coming like one thing after the other, synchronicities and things that now I see like that I didn't see before, but like synchronicity signs, the right messages at the right time that I needed to hear. Even Tony Robbins, like it was the first time I've heard of him. I never heard of him before. And the manager at the restaurant that was doing their work with me, because she saw how hard it was for me to, okay, do I actually do it? Like it was a long-term relationship, and I was not sure if it was really right to do it. Like I knew it, but yeah, those fears, those how to do it, like, oh my God, this is going to be painful, this is going to be hard, like that thing. And she sent me a video of Tony Robbins, and I cried so much watching that I knew that was it. That was the answer I needed, and finally it happens. And yeah, and from that on, like a big change. So in the end of the we found another pet sitting afterwards that we already had, so we spent a few more weeks together, like 2 more weeks together, and after breaking up. And then I went to Sydney, to another city, and a new chapter began. I decided I did a lot of pet sitting again, continued with that. So, and then because I always had this passion with wild animals and I wanted to stay longer in Australia, it was already like 7 months in. So in 4 months kind of thing, like 4 or 5 months, I would need to go back to Portugal already. And I was like, oh my God, no. So I wanted to stay longer. You may be asking why I'm telling you all of this story, but basically because this whole journey with dogs, and since puppy came into my life, really, the whole thing changed. Like my whole life changed completely. So that's why I'm sharing this with you. So you know, like somehow the background a little bit, because yeah, things started to shift in an amazing way. Like I had no idea, I couldn't really plan it. I planned a lot for the change. Still, of course, we didn't know what kind of jobs we were going to do. Going back a little bit, but the program itself, it was to work like in farms, in hospitality. And then, as I told you, it didn't happen. So, but of course, we didn't really know what kind of work we would end up doing. So that was a bit of a plan. Well, it was planned, but at the same time, there was space for adventure, and the idea was to travel and do a lot of things. Of course, I still traveled a little bit, but it was not as much travel as I planned it in the beginning. It was more like a whole complete change of life. As it was actually what I wanted, but I had no idea how it would turn out. Like it was much more aligned with what makes sense for me. And now I see completely. But yeah, I had no idea, and it was beautiful in that way. So as I was saying as well, I wanted to stay there longer, and I was like, okay, maybe I can find some courses about dogs that can give me the visa for 6 more months or 1 more year. And I ended up just finding one that was related to animals that I thought, okay, this is amazing because it's related to wild animals. As I was saying, like, I love wild animals. There was a point in time where I wanted to work with like lions and tigers, and I just have this thing inside of me that once in this lifetime, I want to have that experience, because I just have this call, this pulling towards them. And to have that experience, I think it must be magical. And also, well, it tells you a lot about you being able to transmute and transform your fears into love, right? And this whole journey has been really about it. Just really following my heart more and leaving the fears a bit more to the side. It has been quite a journey, and I still have a lot of work to do in that regard, because there's always fears that come up, and sometimes you just have to embrace them and keep on going. I was just talking to a friend about it actually before this video. And yeah, so I did that course for 6 months, captive animals. So, and while I was doing the course, I would need to do some volunteer work for like to have hours to complete the course. So I was like, this was like something from heaven completely, because there was this zoo in Sydney, like in the center of Sydney. There were 2 zoos there, but in the center of the city, that was the only one. And because I was living close by, like, there was the greatest place for me to do the volunteer work, because all the rest, like, it is huge, like Sydney is huge, and then some of the places were like sanctuaries that I would love to work there as well, but at the same time they were so far away, like 2 hours each way, and I didn't have car at that time anymore, so yeah, it would be really hard to do that. So I was like so divinely blessed is what I feel, because there was so many people trying to get into that job that I was applying to as well in that zoo, and I got it. Like me and I think we were 4. I felt it was like, you know, those manifestations that you really wanted and you have no idea if you're going to get it, but the universe is going to get what is right for you. And it was incredible. It was really, really amazing. I'm so blessed. I'm so grateful that it happened. It was perfect. I learned so much about the animals and working directly with so many different species. Like, it was great. But the biggest thing I took from all of it, that is like one of the biggest learnings that I took from this whole experience, and that I share actually in the course that I created for Woo Puppies, our nature course, is really about the 5 needs that every species have. That basically is what we need to focus on to guarantee quality of life for all of us, like as humans, our dogs, and all the other species. And yeah, that's basically what I felt like I was also doing in my life back then. I was really simplifying my life. Like, it was the focus on having a shelter, right? A house to stay in, to sleep in, and to feel comfortable in, and to have food, to have water, to have like my clothes. In that sense, it's like our social needs, like we as humans need the clothes, right? All of that, but to really be all simple and not being overspending like on things that don't matter. Like, no, like there was a budget, like I really had to make sure I was focusing on the right things. This is one of the biggest learnings I took from it. And then of course the whole experience with the animals, it just got me so much joy. I can say that I'm not like the biggest fan of zoos, but at the same time, what I liked about that zoo specifically is because every animal that was there was rescued, so they would die if they wouldn't be rescued. They wouldn't survive in the wild, and then of course sometimes they would reproduce inside of the zoo. So there were these little ones that were born there, and those were the ones that were living there mostly. So there was not those healthy animals took from the wild to put inside the zoo. That didn't happen. So yeah, and they were really well taken care of. They had all the things they needed, like really, really good food, fresh food every single day. Like it was amazing. We were preparing the food every single day with really like high standards, you know, like everything clean, like really clean, the best knives, the best fruits, like really, really fresh. It was amazing, like a really, really good experience. And then, yeah, that brought me a lot of knowledge, of course, and also the sense of what really matters, what we all really need, and focusing on the 5 main needs that every species has on this planet. It was huge because it helps us simplify a lot our lives, our process, to follow our dreams. You know, like when we focus on what we really need to follow our dreams, because when we try to have a lot of things to fulfill that hole that we feel when we are not following our dreams, it doesn't really gonna work in the long term, right? We know that. So it's like, just make sure you have the things you need to be healthy, to be here, really, and keep following your heart. Make sure you follow your dreams, because you're going to be provided. Like, trust, because it's true. You are always going to be provided. The universe always gives you what you need, and just keep going. It's going to get better. I didn't plan a lot about this, so I knew I wanted to come here and talk to you about this story in Australia. And I'm sure it's what you need to hear right now. But yeah, so this is it mostly. Then after this, what I'm gonna do is start talking a bit more about the things that I started realizing after coming back from Australia, and I started going deeper in this self-development work, and I was back with Puppy. So the things that I started to see that Puppy was showing me and telling me before I went to Australia that I didn't see before. And then Sammy also came along. There were some more adventures that came after that. Also like a trip to New Zealand. I will talk about it because it was a really, really good one as well. And it was about like meeting a really well-known dog behaviorist in New Zealand, Mark Vitti. So I want to tell you about that as well. Yeah, I think the message mostly here today that I want to leave you with is the animals are really showing us our true nature if we listen. Like, they really show us what's most important, and just trust, just keep following your dreams, and make sure you have the foundation, provided, like what you really need, and the rest doesn't really matter. So focus on your dreams, keep going, because your heart is the one that wants to be full.